Today on the Truvix Podcast, I'm excited to welcome Patrick O'Sullivan, founder of Get Multifamily in Phoenix, Arizona. With over 15 years of real estate and more than a decade of property management, Patrick has built a company that manages over 220 units, which 90% of those are multifamily. Now, what sets Patrick apart is not just his expertise, but the way he's built a family-first culture powered by systems, virtual teams, and smart processes that run almost at franchise level. From growing up in a triplex to leading a modern management company, Patrick's story is one of innovation, resilience, and vision for where property management is headed. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marcus. Thanks for having me join as a guest.
You're welcome. Patrick, you shared how you growing up in a triplex shaped your interest in real estate. Can you tell us what that early experience taught you about the power of property ownership?
Yeah. So, growing up as a kid, it was me, my brother, mom, and grandma. And early on, I remember us moving into a triplex where we lived in the house and there were 2 additional units. And grandma got to live in the second unit and the third unit was a tenant, somebody we didn't know. And I got to see living there well over 15 years of how a property was run. And I got to see that how rent from another tenant helped pay the bills and everything from even just helping do the landscaping outside, seeing what kind of repairs that were needed, and everything from parking issues with the property next door and those tenants. And I just got to see that whole experience and how that worked. And I, honestly thought it was pretty cool that you can have other people pay your bills. So.
That's cool. Now, you've been licensed for 15 years.
Yep.
You started your own company 5 years ago.
Yep.
What made you take that leap from working for others to building your own property management firm?
Yeah, I've always been that entrepreneur mindset where you started out in real estate 15 years ago, selling multifamily properties to clients, whether it was local, California, or Canadian. And I just found that there's a real need for property management, good property management. I didn't have a really good resource to send my clients to. So eventually I was asked by clients that were in transactions, can you manage it? And I said, well, I could. I don't have experience. If you want to be the guinea pig, absolutely. And so that's kind of how that started. And I started real small with just 12 units. And from there, kind of organically grew it. Whenever we sold more properties to new clients, they asked for management. And we did that for, probably 6 years where we really didn't even advertise that we did it. We just took on properties that we were selling. And then just about, 2 years ago, we actually started promoting to other people outside of who we're doing transactions with that we do property management. And I find it's a really good, additional piece to the business to, add that vertical to and offer that service as a recurring service that goes with the sales and obviously the ups and downs of commission.
Okay. And so you say 90% of your of the 220 are multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
What made you do more multifamily instead of single family?
Yeah, part of it was I just enjoy, it was from growing up by the triplex and just kind of understanding that. Another component of it is the scale of it. So I'm not really interested in, let's say, at the level of 200 doors, having 200 owners. That sounds like a lot of communication, a lot of questions. So for me, it was an ability to scale. Instead of having 200 owners, let's have 20 owners, 30 owners. It's a lot less communication there. Plus, when somebody on my team visits a property or I visit a property, we can take care of multiple issues at the same time in one visit. So I liked it for those reasons. And plus it was the properties I was selling. And I just kind of enjoyed that.
So regarding the 220 properties, what's been the biggest challenge and the biggest win in scaling to that point?
The biggest challenge, I don't know that we had a challenge. It's just been a slower growth, especially the first 6 years where we weren't really marketing it. We would just add property here and there because we were selling it and they wanted us to manage it. I would say right now, our challenge really is just getting our name out there. and just talking with more people. So that's been a focus of ours for the since last month into the rest of the year is targeting and getting our name out there to talk to more owners about taking on their properties.
until the end of the year. But what are you actually doing?
Yeah. So we are focused on a few things. For one, we're reaching out to agents that sell multifamily properties, asking them if they have a referral that they work with for property management. And if not, asking how could we be that referral partner for them. Obviously, we also do in-person networking events. So once a month, we'll do what we call a meet and greet. It's basically kind of like a happy hour. We get investors, we get other agents and other referral partners like title companies, lenders together so that we can meet in person socially to kind of connect that way, build some rapport, and obviously hope to do business with them. So those have been working great. Also are really big on pushing online reviews because we know, that's kind of a thing right now. A lot of people will check you out before they contact you. So just making sure that we're doing a good job with the tenants and the owners that we have now, and then just being diligent about asking for a review, to get our name out there.
Okay, good deal. Now, when we talked previously, you've set your company up to rely heavily on virtual assistants and SOPs.
hmm
How does that structure give you an edge over more traditional firms?
Yeah. So the way we've structured our systems when it comes to virtual is we have an in-person licensed property manager who is supported by those so you always have a one point of contact, which is nice, but leaving that one person to handle all of the hats in the business, anything from leasing, marketing, leasing, maintenance coordination, rent collections, just checking on properties. That's really tough to have one person do all of that and have the skill and ability to do every single role. We've come to find out it's much easier to take that and break it up by specialty. And we kind of, we call it, coin it as a pod structure where there's a head property manager who's the licensed boots on the ground, guy that works for, and does all the licensed activities, and all the non-licensed, things are handled by a remote team that is, in front of a computer, has a phone, can really communicate quickly, get back to people, while the property manager is handling the what's called the escalated in-person related,
And where people can work from home, how has that decision impacted both your team and your clients?
Yeah. So I think I like to say, when I started this, that was always the plan. I personally wanted to work from home, and I was recently married, knew we were gonna have a family, and I just wanted to build it in a way that I could. How can I maximize my time with that? So I figured out, well, how do I structure this and build this from working from home? And so I started adding pieces, the property manager who's going to be in the field and doing the driving, right? But we also structured it with him that his base is from home. And so when he leaves every single day to do his routes and his checks, he goes home. He doesn't go to an office to work. And then same thing with the remote team. It's they all work from home. It reduces the commute for them. I hear stories about, hey, we're going to be able to spend more time with our kids or family, husband, wife, mainly because they're not doing a 1 hour commute each way every day, which is very common. And so I just find that as a component, like if I can build a business where it benefits both family and work, that was the goal. That's why I set it up this way.
I like that. Now, you also mentioned documented processes to the point of being franchise ready. Now, where do you see AI and automations fitting into that system?
Yeah, great question. So we're really big on processes and checklists, guides. Our guides are pretty very thorough. They've gotten written instructions, screenshots. We include videos on all of them of how to dos. We've built well over 700 processes in our business from and every little checklist. And so whenever, a new lease comes up, 42 items that need to be happen when we have a new tenant move in are assigned out to the appropriate person. They know exactly how to do it. It's really built for somebody that if you never knew what to do or you were brand new, as long as you can follow instructions, you'd be able to do the task.
So yeah, just where do you see AI and automations
Got it. Yeah.
fitting into that system?
Yeah. So along with our, multiple, like 700 plus processes that we've got, we are now looking at ways to automate. And one of the things the very first thing that we started with was taking our process of how we build rental descriptions. We have currently, and our first version of it was we had a list and it says, here's a list of potential things to say in your description. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and it was examples of what a good description could have, including our company clauses that we typically include, regarding like number, amount of security deposits, that so forth. What we've done now is taken that and created it into an like ChatGPT, and now we have a custom GPT that you just say, I need a rental description. It will prompt you for the questions. You add the number of bedrooms, the bathrooms, the features. We also upload photos to it, and it will create and spit out a description based on what you input and including what's in the photos. So it will spit out that those are stainless steel appliances. It will spit out that those are white new cabinets. So that's been very helpful for the team.
Any other things that you're using besides ChatGPT
Yeah.
for the AI?
So we just rolled out where we're in the process of onboarding with a company called Vendaroo, and Vendaroo is a handles maintenance coordination. So it's a agentic AI that will take inbound work orders from Buildium, our software, and will communicate triage with the tenant and also coordinate the work, the vendor and the tenant, to make an appointment to get it all handled. They've also got a receptionist or they call it, I think, a receptionist, but essentially when you call in, and we're in the middle of this setup, but when you call in, it will answer the phone. It will act as a phone tree, like it will send it, oh, you need to talk to the manager. But it will also try to triage and answer questions that are the basic questions before it reaches somebody.
Okay, yeah, AI is really just starting, and it's going to evolve throughout the years. So, are there are there parts of your business? Are there leasing? You doing any leasing through AI and communications? I know you're doing maintenance.
Yep.
But are you doing any other like leasing and tenant communications?
We use a tool called ShowMojo, and ShowMojo is, I don't know that I would call it AI. It's more automation. It is more, when somebody inquires about a property or says interested, it's got a templated response. So it doesn't really necessarily review the email and respond accordingly. It's just, you want to coordinate a showing. It sends a templated message saying, great, if you're interested, here's how to schedule, here's how to apply, here's how to reach us. And so, and then it will follow up on a regular time period. So if you are showing the property and you saw it, it will automatically follow up with a feedback loop to get that. So we use that tool. We use that tool as well. We're also rolling out Go High Level. So that's another tool that we're currently eliminating some other tools to combine it into for example, we canceled Active Campaign, an email tool to use with Go High Level. But Go High Level, we're just exploring what they have as far as AI is concerned.
Okay, yeah, Go High Level definitely can do a lot of things within their platform. They have a lot of tools, and they want to say it's a one-stop shop, but definitely has a lot of tools that you can use within Go High Level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you could snap your finger and have only one AI solution built today for multifamily property management, what would that be?
The one that I would be interested in is some component of, business development, whether it's responding to inbound leads and setting appointments. And I'm pretty sure that exists. We just have not implemented that yet. We're kind of implementing Vendaroo and then go high level and then looking at, future stuff. But that would be kind of on the horizon that we're looking at is how do we improve our, response time to owner inquiries? How do we, create a little less, less time when it comes to the person that's currently doing owner lead follow-up, so that she can handle potentially more leads. So that would be the next one.
Okay, say that one more time. You have a person that responded to what follow-ups?
Owner lead.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So when somebody says I'm interested, maybe they have a house or a duplex or if you attending, whatever. Right now, that's a manual process for us. It is, they get the email or the inquiry. It's going into a Monday, which is going to end eventually going to go high level. But right now, somebody is calling, emailing, texting manually at that point. And so having somebody, it can handle the volume that we've got right now, but we are looking at other marketing avenues to increase the number of leads. And so that won't be sustainable for one person without AI or hiring multiple people.
How do you balance automations with keeping that human relationship-driven side of the business?
Yeah. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, actually. I don't know that you can eliminate, in my opinion, you're not gonna be able to eliminate the person, the people aspect in this business. So there's always going to be that component. So we just leverage AI in ways that are helpful, but we don't make it the only way that you can communicate. There needs to be an escalation process. And so, yeah, eventually our phones will be answered by an AI, but there will be an option to, if somebody says, I'd like to speak to somebody, that's going to then get forwarded to somebody. It's not going to be, you can't do that. So, there's always going to be that component. What we're using it for is trying to eliminate some of the, things that don't necessarily need a person. So that's how we're using it.
Okay. So I know you mentioned earlier that uh, the the business reviews, reputation management is big for you.
Mhm.
So are you automating that, or are you manually asking for owners to leave reviews?
This point, it's a manual process. So we're hoping to make that a little more automated with Go High Level. But right now, what's happening is when we get a new tenant and they've moved in, that's generally a point where they're pretty happy, right? They've got a new apartment, new place. We ask them, what did you think? How did we do? And then if it's positive, we're gonna obviously provide them a link like, hey, we'd love for you to share how we did with, with others by providing a review. If it was obviously not a positive experience, we're going to communicate with them. I'll probably call them or the manager will call them and say, what can we do to do better here? Same thing. Another touch point that this works well with is on maintenance. If there is an issue with, let's say, an AC or some other issue, and we jump on it and it's turned around really well, and we get good feedback, we do the same thing. So hitting those 2 points for us has been the best leverage for getting reviews when tenants move in and on completed maintenance work orders.
Do you see AI changing how property managers approach marketing? And you already mentioned reputation management.
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that AI could help with things like follow-up communication with leads. I'm personally not familiar enough with the marketing side to actually attain the leads, using AI to obtain leads.
And automations, yeah. So, where do you see the Phoenix multifamily market going in the next 5 years?
If I had a crystal ball, there was a lot of inventory, a lot of supply built over the last couple of years, pretty much around 30,000 units a year for 2 years straight. And that was really driven up vacancy levels, especially on the A class higher end, level. And that is, getting absorbed. And I'm seeing, good numbers there, but we're also seeing, in order to absorb it, a lot of concessions, a lot of, 2 months free if you sign a 12 or 13 month lease at these properties. And sometimes even more. And that's had a trickle down effect on the older properties, so what I call like a B class level, where those properties are also experiencing higher vacancy, not to the extent of an A class, but they are seeing that because the tenants who can maybe afford an A class property are moving up because they are getting deals with free rents or concessions there. Um, and then again, that has a trickle down effect to what we call C class properties, which are the older properties even. And so vacancies, because of the number of units built, it increases the market vacancy, but it is skewed towards A higher and on the lower end less vacancy. So, looking ahead, I am seeing that getting absorbed. I'm also seeing that the projects that currently are being built are likely to be finished. The rest of them that haven't started is drastically dropped, meaning like a lot of new projects. There's not very many projects getting off the ground if they haven't started already. So there's going to be this kind of wild swing of supply went really high over the last 2 years. That would probably get absorbed over the next 12, 18 months. 18 months from now, there won't be very much in new construction. And then I think we're going to see vacancies drop quickly because there's still a lot of people moving into the Phoenix market. And with no new apartments being built, or very few relative to demand, there'll be rents, I believe, will increase in, let's say, years 3, 4, and 5. So that's where I see that happening.
Now, what is your vision with your company within the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing to talk to owners who are having vacancy issues. So we do see where we're going to grow on the management side for that. But I'm also fielding a lot of questions about sales. A lot of people who are maybe tired of the up and down that's kind of recently happened over the last few years, and are deciding to exit. So I'm seeing a lot of more supply, a lot more people that are wanting to sell. So for our company, I believe in the next 12 months, we will have more properties under management and we'll have more transactions happening versus the previous.
Now, for the everyday investor listening, what's the biggest mindset shift they need if they want to succeed in multifamily?
Right now, I would say looking at a property, if it is what I call rented and stabilized, understanding that if those were rented recently, the last year or two, understanding that if they buy the property, they need to know what the market rents are. They also need to understand what in-place rents are. But to understand that the rents in place actually might be higher than market. And so if they lose a tenant, the next tenant may not pay as much. And to make sure that they're factoring that in when they purchase the property and not be surprised if there's some turnover, that they're still going to be able to cash flow.
Thanks for that advice. Patrick, how would our listeners get in touch with you?
The easiest way, I mean, all of our information's on our website. So you could visit, if you have a property management related question, you can go to getmultifamilypm.com. You can also find our website for sales if you're interested in buying or selling. That website is getmultifamily.com without the PM.
All right. Thank you. Patrick, this has been an incredible conversation from your early start in a triplex to leading a family-first system-driven management company. You've shown what's possible when you blend experience, culture, and innovation. For those of you listening, if you're in the Phoenix area looking for expert multifamily management or even buying and selling through a trusted brokerage, be sure to connect with Patrick and the team at Get Multifamily. Patrick, thanks for joining us on the Truvix Podcast. We'll have all your links and info in the show's notes so listeners can reach out directly. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Thanks, Marcus. But